Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube segment, I'm going to be talking about Chris Johnson, a prolific NFL running back, and the shooting that he was involved in yesterday. Well, most of you know Chris Johnson was shot yesterday in a drive-by shooting. It was at 4 a.m. in Florida, and I believe that's where it was anyway, but he was shot in the early morning hours, and one person was killed and the other was wounded. Now, this could have very well been Chris Johnson. Now, I don't know any full circumstances regarding this. I don't think anybody knows yet as far as who the shooters were. They said one of the people killed had an extensive criminal history. Well, I don't really see anybody standing by a car is really that deserves to be shot at. I don't know if these were more the adversaries or enemies of Chris Johnson. Who really knows? But at the same time, that's not what that's obviously not something you do. Chris Johnson, I don't think he did anything reprehensible to deserve to be shot at. And really, it just goes to show you that what it comes down to is that you could be somebody that stands very tall in life, your stature, your physical and some people can have a great big physical stature and have notoriety like a Hulk Hogan, larger than life. Now, but it doesn't make you invincible or impervious to harm. I mean, we can't go around walking around with a bulletproof vest. Chris Johnson, even though he was injured, he got shot in the shoulder, and he's anticipated and expected to make a complete full recovery. I mean, he didn't get out of this unscathed by any means. He could have very well been dead. And I mean, life is just so precious. We see, Chris Johnson has compiled very pretty good, exorbitant NFL stats, and I think my feeling on this is that he probably will go to the Hall of Fame. He's already rushed for over 8,000 yards. He's 29 years old. He has the NFL record for most rushing touchdowns for over 80 yards. He's got 6. He has the record for, or at least had set the record for most yards from scrimmage in the 2009-10 season. So really, sometimes these things happen by your contemporaries and the company you keep. At the same time, getting shot at, that's another story. To me, it's very, it just goes to show you. Now, we look at, maybe some of you have heard that Anthony Mason, a former NBA, is a pro basketball player, had died at the age of 48. These things can happen instantaneously. It's important not to take life for granted, that we have to make every precious minute count, not be indignant, not thinking, well, this person has more, they got more monetarily, they have more material items, they have more possessions in that home, that means I'm not doing well. It really, when you have like a Chris Johnson or some other person of great fame and notoriety and stature, they have more problems a lot of times than you and I can fathom, just regular average Joes, so to speak, because they have to deal with the pressure every day of being who they are. We have social media now. Athletes, prominent ones especially, are under more scrutiny than ever. The athletes in the 70s and 80s and even a good part of the 90s didn't have to contend with that. I had Googled Chris Johnson shooting, and it was like, on Google, I believe it was like around 175 million search results came up. I mean, this story is really hitting big time, and especially because we're in the NFL offseason. We're not seeing, there's no games being played, so anything that happens to a prominent athlete now is even going to be more pronounced, because people want to have something to write and talk about, to dissertate about, to put in the media, put on social media, and things of that nature. So I think when I see something like this, I mean, I'm very happy Chris Johnson is still alive. He played for the Tennessee Titans for a number of years, and as many of you know, I live in Tennessee. I'm from New York originally, but I'm in the Nashville, Tennessee area, and I hope he should find another home as far as an NFL team goes, but he came close to not having a home, period, yesterday. And he could have very well been the one that got shot. He didn't get out of it unscathed. And really, I mean, whoever did the shooting will ultimately, in all probability, will be captured and apprehended, and they'll figure it out at some point. And we have to look at things like, I mean, about life, and we look at the famous people. They're just famous people are just, they're really not much going to be different than anybody else. Everybody is susceptible to some kind of harm, to violence. We can't go around being in a plastic bubble, and we're not invincible to things of that nature. I look at this and I see something where it's very hard to avoid anything like this 100%. You can't live your life in a sanctuary, or like I said before, in a bubble. These things in life do happen to some people from time to time. Even if they're isolated, there is always that chance something could happen that could be perilous to one of us, whether it's a famous person, whether what I refer to as a mere mortal, somebody that's just a regular Joe in the mundane society. And you look at things of this nature, and when I heard about Chris Johnson being shot, it kind of put a little more perspective on me in my life. And I'm not a famous person by any means. I'm just an average person. But regardless of where we are in our stature of life, we really have to truly appreciate and embrace the days that we have, because everybody's days are numbered and everybody does go at some time. Chris Johnson, I mean, pardon the metaphor, I mean, literally, even though he got shot, dodged a bullet in essence yesterday, because he could have very well been the one that had the fatal, that could have had the fatal shot in him. So I think we can't take life for granted. I think that's really very significant. And somebody like a Chris Johnson, a larger than life prolific athlete, I mean, obviously he's not, it's not 100% that he's going to go every day and live to maybe 75, 80 years old or whatever, and not maybe die through some kind of unforeseen incident. These things that happen, I mean, life happens instantaneously, but death can as well. And we hear about people having heart attacks even in their 30s. And it just, to me, my grandfather, God rest his soul, he died when he was 71, and he had recently gone back from a doctor's office, and he apparently had a very good checkup, and shortly afterwards he dies of a heart attack. So it just makes, these things are very unpredictable. Somebody could be in a bad mood one day. You could be on the brunt end of it. You could be feeling that you weren't doing anything to quote-unquote deserve it, that you were minding your own business. Somebody goes on some kind of psychotic rampage. I forget the name of the person, but something happened like several years ago in New York City where some deranged psychotic nut went on some kind of rampage and killing spree. And it's like, you don't really know when something can or may not happen. It just really, a lot of it could be out of our hands. We could take all the precautions we want, and that might, and it doesn't make you 100% impervious or invincible to some kind of unanticipated disaster, whether you're killed or whether you're seriously injured. You just don't know. It could just be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I had a friend one time that told me he went into a fast food restaurant, and he just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. He wound up, there was a robbery took place at the fast food restaurant, and he was locked in the freezer with a number of other people, but he was able to get out of the freezer, and he survived the incident, but that was a near perilous experience for this person. So it just really, to me, I just want people to understand and acknowledge, to be grateful for what is given to you in life. And life is something where you can't put a price tag on it. Life is priceless. It's invaluable. We can't look at life and say, okay, my life's worth $1 million. You can't, because you simply can't put a price tag on it. And I think some of the things to remember is that stay involved with the right people in your life as well, because sometimes maybe the contemporaries, the people you're with, can maybe increase your chances of facing some kind of unforeseen disaster, things that are detrimental to you, and could ultimately cost a person his or her life. Now, I'm not saying that was the case with the Chris Johnson incident. Those details are very obscure, I think, at this point at best, and we don't really know what that was. Was it something gang related? Was it something else? I'm sure the details will unfold slowly but surely, and we'll get a better grasp and gamut of the full scenario, why that took place yesterday. But although Johnson survived, we also have somebody that died, and somebody got hurt pretty bad also. And I think the message with this is, just do not take anything, especially your life, for granted, and really just appreciate and embrace the days that we have, because you never know when your last day will be. And anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube segment, and until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.